Stations across the land, joepags.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email, it's all right there, plus the live video feed. It's the Joe Pags Show. Glad to have you here. Really glad to have this guy on from campusreform.org. It is Ab Henry. Ab, how are you?
I'm doing well, Joe. How are you?
I'm living the dream. So you're a student at Harvard, so already we know you're smarter than I am, and that's already kind of daunting. But being a student at Harvard, I like to sort of start with, how's your life changed because of coronavirus? You're not going to class anymore, right?
No, we're not going to class in person, but we have our fair share of work online right now.
So, I mean, at a school like Harvard, 'cause a lot of colleges and universities just have stopped. They say, well, we're not going to do anything right now. You got to leave the dorm. You can't do anything. And maybe the sporadic class. Are you keeping your initial workload that you had when you were going to class, or not as much?
Yeah, it's basically about the same workload. It's a little trickier for law students. They can't just cancel classes because most of our legal education is packed into our first year. So, for a second semester first year, that most of our legal education is right there, so they can't change the workload on us.
You think going forward they might continue to do it like this? It's 2020, Ab. You can do digital stuff constantly from lecturers from around the globe. I mean, this actually might have opened the door to maybe doing more of this, or do you prefer going to class?
Well, I think all of us prefer going to class. In law school, we do something called the Socratic method. So professors are cold calling students to make sure that they're doing the readings. And I'd say that a lot of the teaching that's done in law schools is by other students, not the professor. So, I mean, having that engagement with other students and debate and that sort of thing, it's just not the same on an online platform. So I think that our education is not exactly the same online, and it would be better in person.
Campusreform.org's Ab Henry. Make sure you go to the website, campusreform.org, every day. See these young reporters doing amazing journalism that isn't done by the big media anymore. Let me ask you about this, because, again, you're already smarter than I am. People going to the Ivy League already are working their asses off just to get there. It's really a source of pride to make it that far. Why exactly would Ivy League students be demanding an A? We already know how hard the course load is. You guys already have to put the work in. What is this demand to get an A because of the coronavirus?
Yeah, so I mean, you see all across the United States, not just Ivy League, students are petitioning to do a pass-fail rather than just normal grading. And, that's reasonable to a sense because, as I mentioned, that working at home is not the same. It's harder. You have distractions. You have all this stuff. So, and people are just not situated for it yet. But I think that students are taking it a little bit too far with the all A's thing. A pass-fail grading mentality is, in a sense reasonable. But if you ask everybody to give out A's, then you're just devaluing the A. I'm not sure what you would get in regards to, the difference between a pass and an A. If everybody's getting an A, it'd be the same thing, basically. So I'm not sure why students are petitioning for that.
Well, it's actually, you're right. I mean, this actually denigrates those who worked their faces off and got the A or got a B plus or whatever. You're just going to say, give me an A now. Why not take whatever the average was when classes stopped and then add to that whatever online work you guys are doing and get a real grade? Why would we ever say give everybody an A? Is this being pushed by people who, generally speaking, have a C or worse? Or is this even people who had A's saying give me an A?
I think I can't tell you because it's not really prevalent at Harvard, but I know that this was at Columbia that this is happening. And typically, I mean, you would expect that it's the people that really aren't, probably in the A arena already. But I mean, like I said, the transition is a pretty difficult one. I'd say if we're starting off knowing that we're going to be online next semester, it would be a different calculus. But just because people were kicked out of their dorms, sent back home, had to travel in the middle of the year, it's pretty difficult to keep up with classes at that point. And so that's why I would advocate perhaps for a pass-fail, but definitely not for an all-A situation.
It's Ab Henry. He's a student at Harvard. He's also from campusreform.org. Let me just ask you something off the beaten path. So when you meet people, is it like, hey, Ab Henry, Harvard? Do you just throw that in there? Do you happen to put that? Do you have Harvard on your jacket all the time? How does that work?
No, I try not to. I try not to throw that out there too often. Don't want. There's a type of situational awareness that you have to have, and just can't, just be annoying to people.
Or do you tell a friend, listen, I'm not going to bring it up because it'll look kind of arrogant, but make sure you bring up the fact that I go to Harvard, like your wingman. This is Ab. He goes to Harvard. No, nothing like that.
Well, I don't think so. I think I'm a strong believer that I went to University of Texas for undergrad, and I couldn't love that school anymore. And I think there's so many brilliant people there. So I love both schools.
You went to University of Texas at Austin?
That's right.
Okay, so what's more liberal, Harvard or UT Austin? Because it's got to be close.
It's a close one. I got to tell you. I mean, I think hmm, maybe the debate that I'm having at Harvard is a little more intense. One, because I'm involved with the Republicans Club there,
Right.
and then two, it's a lot of academic debate. So any kind of constitutional class, any kind of criminal class, there's always the left and right side of things typically, but it's a different kind of debate. It's more of a legal debate. In Austin, it's more of like the um, mainstream liberal kind of debate that's going on there. So in
Right.
that sense, it's a little more liberal.
I've got to ask you this. At Harvard, where you guys are really, really smart and you're really into it, and you're at Harvard Law School, which is amazing, are the debates the same, though, where the conservatives, those of us who believe the Constitution is a foundation etched in stone, is it the same where liberals believe, no, 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 it's living and breathing, and we can change it whenever we want. We can decide what we think it means by interpretation. Is it the same sort of argument?
Yeah, it's absolutely the same exact argument that you'd see, just maybe with a little more legal philosophers and that sort of thing. But it's basically originalism, which is typically attributed to the conservative party or conservative people,
Yeah.
and then versus living constitutionalism, which is attributed to liberals most often. But it's the same kind of thing. As conservatives, we believe in originalism, and we think that Constitution stays stable. And living constitutionalists want to change interpretation based on social context and things of the sort.
It's very interesting. It's Ab Henry from campusreform.org. He goes to Harvard. Law school deans support diploma privilege for would-be lawyers. I got Ab again. I'm not that smart. What the hell is diploma privilege? I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, so it's an idea that's floating around. There's a situation that's going on because obviously the bar exam, you can't take it during these situations.
Right.
So when it's being the state bar of California pushed the idea of postponing the bar exam till later, and the students obviously are really upset about this because they can't start practicing and they have for example $300,000 in loans and they got to start working, right? So this kind of privilege would allow the students to kind of bypass the bar exam and start practicing as attorneys without taking the bar exam.
Okay, but I mean, come on. That would be kind of dumb, wouldn't it? I mean, what do you have to wait, a month, 2 months, something like that? And you'll eventually take the bar exam. You studied all this much. You had that much money invested, as you said. And I get you want to start making money, but no, you got to pass the bar exam, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at states like California, their first time pass rate for the bar exam is 55%. I would be skeptical to have everybody just start working as attorneys because one, you're protecting students if you don't do that, because then they're going to get sued for malpractice and lose more money than they would have gained.
Right.
But then also, I mean, you're protecting clients from graduates that aren't particularly ready for legal practice.
Well, you're saying it very nicely. I mean, the bottom line is 45% suck and probably would have failed the bar exam, and they're out there practicing law, and the poor client's going, well, I thought he was a lawyer. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. And there's another type of compromise that's come along where they work as a provisional attorney under the supervision of a supervisory attorney, which I can see. I think that's pretty reasonable because already in summer associate positions with firms, summer associates and law students work as basically attorneys, but all their work has to be checked by a supervising attorney. So I think that would be a pretty good compromise.
I agree. I think that is reasonable. It's Ab Henry. Go follow him on Twitter. I think it's Ab_Henry_. I think that's what your name is on Twitter. Go and follow him there. He's a Harvard student, also works with campusreform.org. Harvard has an endowment, which is a lot of money. And for some reason, they decided they would take some coronavirus money, but now they're giving it back. Tell me the story there.
Right. So, I mean, it all started with the CARES Act from Congress. It allotted about $9 million to Harvard. And there was I guess, discussion, if you'd like to call it that, between President Trump and the administration. And President Trump mentioned, yeah, I mean, Harvard gets it has a $40 billion endowment. That's the largest academic endowment in the entire world. Why would they be taking funds when the entire country is at crisis? And so I think that, Harvard was correct in rejecting the funding later on. But at first they were like, no, we're going to take the funding for now and we're just going to send it to students. As anybody, a student, obviously I want the money, but I think that in this kind of crisis, it should be reallocated to people that need it more.
It's a good quandary because I wonder where are people on the left on campus, where are people on the right on campus? I think you're right that everybody who is eligible for the money should have an opportunity to get the money. But if you've already got $40 million in endowments, I'm not really sure why you would need it. But is it really a need to have versus a want to have? What did students on the left say? Because I think what you said was reasonable. What did students on the left say?
I mean, I don't think that there's a very distinct, left-right argument on this one. at least not that I've heard of. But I would imagine that a lot of left-leaning students believe that government funding is good in general, and a lot of conservatives want to, decline the type of spending that we're doing right now. So in that sense, I think the conservatives are definitely more, amicable to the president and, favorable to that. But I mean, at one end, like the students do need the funding, but Harvard does have the means to provide it, which is provided by their letters declining the funding. They said that they would still be producing the funds for the students as originally promised without the government funds.
Yeah,
So, I mean, the president was right there.
I would actually assume that the liberal students would want the money until they realize that it's called Trump money, and then they wouldn't want the money. So I think it's almost like a conundrum for them individually, and I would love to have seen that happen. Ab, do me a favor. Let's do this again. I think that you did great. And at the same time, next time you go out, when you can, you give up the social distancing and you meet somebody, try this. Ab Henry, Harvard.
I'll give that a try, Joe.
It might work. All right, Ab Henry from campusreform.org. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you guys do over there. Go to campusreform.org every day. Check out the great reporting from these young journalists. And we're back after this in the Joe Pag Show. Stay right here.